The more you study American history, the more you see this frequent cycle over and over again. You see this when studying Native American history, Black American history, Chinese, Japanese, Italian, and Mexican American history as well. And you're currently in the middle of one of those cycles right now. The cycle is this. You'll have a demand for labor somewhere in the United States. A group of people are brought in to meet that demand for labor, typically immigrants. However, over time, those immigrants will start to do well for themselves. And if they become too politically influential, or if they become too economically successful, suddenly a crisis will be manufactured in order to justify their displacement or expulsion from the country, and their assets and businesses will be seized. You see this over and over again in American history. In the 1820s, Native Americans are doing well for themselves. They are largely trying to assimilate into American culture. They have their own businesses. They have gold mines, for instance. And then suddenly the Indian Removal Act gets passed in 1830. The justification for the Indian Removal Act: fear that they would be met with violence if they continued to live so close to Americans. In the 1860s, there's a labor shortage for people to build the Transcontinental Railroad, so they bring in Chinese immigrants and they complete it in 1869. Then in 1882, they pass the Chinese Exclusion Act, barring more Chinese from immigrating to the US. Then suddenly there's a labor shortage, and so what do? They start bringing in Japanese immigrants, and then suddenly a great deal of Japanese immigrants come to the United States until they are barred from immigrating to the United States with the Immigration Act of 1924. This is also coupled with the displacement that they faced during the Japanese internment during the Second World War, where people lost their houses and their businesses with about 24 to 48 hours notice. If you study race riots in American history, you start to notice a distinct pattern over time, where you'll have a black community that starts improving themselves. They start educating each other, buying up real estate, and building up their own businesses. And then suddenly, as they start to succeed for themselves, randomly a white woman will claim that she was accosted by a young black man. And then suddenly this is used to justify violence towards black Americans, typically resulting in the destruction of the majority of black-owned businesses in that area. In the 1920s, there's a massive demand for agricultural labor, so Mexicans are brought in to fill that labor gap. Then 10 years later, with the Great Depression, there's Mexican repatriation, where hundreds of thousands of Mexicans and Mexican-American citizens of the U.S. are sent to Mexico, often without due process, and some without being able to speak Spanish at all. And then, in 1942, suddenly there's a massive demand for laborers again, so the Bracero program gets started, and the Bracero program calls for more Mexicans to be sent to the U.S. to fill in labor gaps. This is still happening today. This is happening right now. Springfield, Ohio, they have a demand for jobs that are not being met. So about 10,000 Haitian immigrants start coming to the country through temporarily protected status, or TPS. Through this time, they start filling in those gaps in the labor market. They start working, they start building up businesses, and they start buying up homes. The Republican governor of Ohio, Mike DeWine, has said that they've helped revitalize the city. Then in 2024, the president claims that they need to end TPS because Haitian immigrants are eating dogs and cats. This is based off of an unsubstantiated Facebook post, not in any truth or veracity. For that reason, now he decides in 2026 to end TPS for all Haitian immigrants to the U.S. The same thing is happening right now for so many other immigrants as we continue to have this daily arrest quota by ICE of 3,000 arrests per day, which is unsustainable. So now they're profiling after people who simply perceive to be non-citizens, even though they're actively detaining citizens, often for weeks at a time. It happens over and over again in American history. There's a need for people to do something. A minority group, usually immigrants, is brought in order to fill that gap. Once they've outlived their usefulness, or they're considered too competitive, then a manufactured crisis is conjured up in order to justify expelling them. And you're seeing it happen in front of you in real time right now.